to Tice Travel Time. Today I will be discussing whether 1,000 euros a month is enough money to live on in Spain. I lived in Bilbao, Spain for 1 year, and I was an English language teaching assistant. I was teaching English through the program Meddeas, and I taught for 22 hours each week, and my total stipend was 1,035 euros a month. Throughout the year, I kept track of pretty much every single cent and euro that I spent while I was living in Spain, and I wanted to make sure that I could actually afford to live in Spain. When I moved to Spain, I did have a lot of savings, so luckily that was able to balance a lot of the costs. But I know when I was thinking of moving to Spain and teaching in Spain, I talked with a lot of other people that have been English language assistants, and they did say that living on 1,000 euros a month or around that price was a struggle. Obviously, it depends on where you live. For my specific spot in Bilbao, that was the stipend I got. That stipend was also based on my experience of teaching and how many students I could have alone. With the Meddeas program, I was allowed up to 15 students by myself. So let's get into it. The first thing is rent. This is the biggest expense that I had every month, and my base rent was 400 euros a month. I lived in San Mamés, which was about a 10-minute walk from the San Mamés football stadium. This was fairly center, and I lived with 2 other roommates. Total cost for our apartment was 1,200 euros a month, which honestly was pretty fair. We found some that were a lot higher and some that were lower, and we used Idealista to find our apartment. Now, each month we also had an added expense for our utilities. We paid a water bill every 3 months, and then we paid for our electricity and our Wi-Fi. The lowest rent that I paid for a month was 433 euros, so that was the 33 euros for the utility bill. And the highest amount that I paid for 1 month was 518 euros, meaning that our utility bill was 118 euros. That was a month that we had to pay the water bill. Rent can vary. It definitely depends on where you live, if you have a 1-bedroom apartment or if you share with other people. The next expense was 30 euros a month for the metro or transportation. This was really good. I took the metro every single day to work and back from work. I even sometimes would come home for my lunch break since I had 2 hours off. So sometimes I would even come home and go back. I never really spent more than 30 euros a month for transportation. The next expense was the gym. So I went to Fitness Park. If you are moving to Spain, definitely check if there's a fitness park near you. Since I was there for less than a year, I got the month-to-month contract. This was 35 euros a month, but it was honestly so worth it. I was able to do lots of different gym classes, and they had so much equipment that I really loved this. If you're looking to save more money, you can definitely get a gym membership. That's more like 15 euros a month, so you can get a cheaper membership. But for me, the gym was really where I got to socialize. I met the most people at the gym, and honestly, it was definitely worth the expense. Now, the next cost was my phone bill. I usually spent between 30 euros and 45 euros, depending on 1, if I was traveling, and 2, whether I accidentally clicked buttons on my phone. When you go to websites, you have the cookies mention. It asks if you want to use cookies, and I pretty much always accept cookies. When I went to the phone store over a large phone bill, I was told that if you accept the cookies, sometimes it'll download things onto your phone, and the phone store will charge that. I used Orange for my SIM card for Spain. I also paid extra so that I could have a spot with me. The Wi-Fi was really sketchy when we first moved into our apartment. It wasn't set up, and it didn't always reach my bedroom. I was willing to pay a little bit more for my phone bill. Now, I didn't only spend money on essentials, and I will admit that I am very aware of my money spendings, but I'm not necessarily budgeting super strictly. There were a few other random essential costs that I threw in there. I got a haircut that was 30 euros, and I also got medicine that was 20 euros. So those are extra costs that every once in a while popped in, but they weren't super common. Now, those are all of my essential costs. My cheapest month for my essentials cost was 543 euros, and the highest essentials cost was 640 euros. Obviously, this would depend on each month, how much I was paying for transportation. It varied every once in a while. Overall, that was my range. So I would say essentials were always between about 500 and 600 euros a month. The cost of groceries would totally depend on 1, how often I was home that month, and how much I was cooking. My cheapest grocery month was 70 euros, and my highest grocery amount was 200 euros. There's a lot of different factors that affected how much I was spending. Now, I will admit that I did also spend a lot of money on fun food. Pretty much if I was going out for any meal, this cost is included. Generally, you can get by with a lot of different prices in Bilbao. Within Bilbao, if you go to a pincho bar or tapas bar, you're generally spending about 2 to 5 euros for a pincho or a tapa. Restaurants can be between 10 euros and 25 euros. Usually, if you got a menu del dia, which was like a 3-course meal, that was generally around 15 euros. And then if you went to a cafe, it was between like 1 euro and 5 euros. Obviously, these prices are going to be varying, so this is based off of Bilbao. With that being said, my lowest fun food cost was 50 euros for a month, and my highest fun food cost, and yes, I recognize this is very high, but the highest one was 350 euros for January. January was a pretty busy month for me because I had gone to London, and London is pretty expensive, so I was eating out for the first 10 days of January, and I wasn't really getting a lot of groceries then, so definitely my fun food cost was up pretty high. My next cost is for entertainment. My lowest entertainment cost was 20 euros and my highest one was 100 euros. And honestly, this was just based off of how much I was doing. And again, this was pretty much based on if I was traveling, if I was visiting any museums, pretty much anything that did not involve eating food. Costs were included in my entertainment. For my fun food, groceries, and entertainment was 140 euros at the lowest cost and 650 euros at the highest cost. That means that my total cost, the lowest month was 683 euros and the highest month was 1,314 euros. Now, these are the total costs for my rent, all my essentials, my entertainment, my fun food, my groceries, and all of that. So generally, I could really keep it somewhat around my range, but I will say that living in Spain, I really wanted to travel. I used a lot of my savings going to Spain in order to travel. I definitely had my costs being a lot higher when you include travel. The lowest I spent on travel for a month was 318 euros. And yes, I recognize this is high, but this is from buying flights and honestly just lots of my travel costs. My highest month spent toward travel was 520 euros. That was just what I was willing to be spending for my travel. I had savings moving to Spain in order to travel a lot, so that was definitely a goal that I had. In the end, was 1,000 euros enough for me to live on? Personally, no, it wasn't, because I spent a lot of money towards travel. But honestly, I think that it is definitely 100% possible to live on 1,000 euros a month. It just depends on the person. For me, my lowest month was 1177 euros. So that was the lowest I spent for a month. And my highest month was 1760 euros, which was a really high amount, but that was the month that I bought my flight to Greece. Budgeting is up to you. It depends on how you decide to spend your money, how much money you go to Spain with, and honestly, how you decide to spend your money. If you're super frugal, that is awesome and that is great. If you're willing to spend money and you have savings, that's also great. I do think that it is 100% possible to live on 1,000 euros a month. Spain is one of my favorite countries, and I highly recommend that you move there, and it will be a great experience. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe to Tice Travel Time. Feel free to watch more videos and enjoy more of my content. Thanks again for watching.